Howdy everybody in YouTube land. What we have in front of us today is a Powerbook 5300C. Now, I got this machine a decade ago, thereabouts, as of the making of this video. And I remember when I first got it, it had a broken DC jack, and I think that was it. So I fixed the DC jack, which is right there, and there's the charger that goes to it. So I fixed the DC jack. All of that was fine. But I noticed even after wiping the hard drive and reloading it, it was extremely unstable. So I shelved it. And here we are a decade later, and it's the same deal. It's extremely unstable. The reason why I decided to start making a video on this is because I saw a video very recently about another person who has a CE model and was looking for parts. And he had mentioned that Apple, most of these got sent back to Apple because of weird things like this and were shipped out. I don't know what the circumstances are behind it. I don't remember what all the bugs were or any of that, but all of the ones that went back to Apple and got shipped back out have AA in the serial number. Now, this one doesn't have sound for some reason, and it also, these brightness and contrast buttons also don't work, and as you can tell, it's locked up right now, so yeah. Anyways, like if I take the power out and plug it back in, there's nothing now. Anyway, so that's what I mean. There's a lot of issues with this particular board. I don't know what's going on with it. I don't know what the capacitors are in, the shape they're in, things like that, right? There we go. It's up going now. But notice there's no chime, there's no nothing. And it might start up, it might not, I don't know. But I remember a decade ago I put a fresh copy of System 7.6 on here. Because anything newer than that is just too slow on a machine like this. So yeah, it's not locked up. Everything's working fine. These buttons do not respond for some dumb reason or another. And yeah, the polarizing film, or not polarizing film, but the diffusing film is kind of yellowed. But yeah, that's just it's not passive. It is an active matrix display. It's just not a very good one. Question is, can I get past the error screen this time? And no. See what I mean? So yeah, there's a problem with this machine. I don't know what. But anyway, so these machines were sent back to Apple, and Apple did some repairs on them and returned them in the very beginning, and they all have AA in the serial number. And if we take a look at this one, it does not have the AA. So this is an original machine that was never sent back to Apple, which is a problem because now we've got a compounded issue. So it's in relatively good condition. I remember I took the battery out and split it apart and removed the cells. But it doesn't have any busted plastics anywhere that I can tell. The hinges are still intact. All of that is okay on this machine. It's just, it's very unstable. So why is it unstable? Do we have capacitor problems? Is it a motherboard problem? What is it? I don't know. But we don't have sound and we don't have button activity. So there's definitely some weirdness going on in there that we need to figure out. Alright, so let's start with the easy stuff. Let's make sure it's not the RAM. So I removed the RAM module. Let's see what it does now. I still didn't get a chime. So we still have a problem with the audio. Something's up with that. I don't know if there's a tear in the cable or what yet. Yeah, those buttons are still not really doing anything. See, does it lock up again? No, it doesn't. I wonder if my RAM chip thing's bad. Yeah, you can see where I've done it a decade ago, so... Anyway, so... yeah. It's running now. But I've seen this before. So who really knows? Now with... how much RAM is on board this thing? I don't even know. 8 megs. With the operating system taking 5 of it. We've got 59 megabytes of virtual memory. So that's probably what's using all of this space. Not what I wanted to do. Yeah, 603E, 100 megahertz, 8 megabytes of memory. So, yeah, that seems to be working now. It's not doing what the hell it was doing. So maybe this memory is bad? I mean, it's NEC RAM. I've not really seen it go bad, but... I don't know. It's hard to say. But I do still have a sound problem, so... copyright 96, so that's era appropriate. Let me shut it down. Turn it back on and see if it'll come back up. Still don't have any sound. One thing I didn't do was plug the headphones in. Alright, so let's see here. Now, I'm pretty sure that's what I thought. That's not doing anything. Yeah, there's an issue here. It's either a tear in the cable, a bad connection, something's up with that. So, we got to dig in here deeper. Alright, I got the covers off. Luckily with these, there's no broken plastics yet. So, anyways, not seeing anything out of the ordinary. It looks like I've already removed the PRAM battery. So, but yeah, this is where the audio and all that stuff would be coming up, and I don't see any tears. I really don't. So, this is becoming more and more of a mystery. Alright, so I took it further apart, and so I'm looking at this little DC converter module, and it's not... the caps are not really leaking. Does that mean they're good? No. Does that mean they're bad? Also no. But I'm not seeing any evidence of trouble. Doesn't necessarily mean there won't be, but I'm just not seeing it. So, I doubt our problem is here, as far as the stability concerned is. Now, I removed the RAM, and it's not doing its little shenanigans, but it's possible this is what it is. It's entirely possible. You can see where I've tried to mess with the clock speed in the past, and I forget why I was doing that. I don't know if it was I was trying to get down to the bottom of the stability issue, and maybe I was trying to downclock it or upclock it. I don't remember what I was doing. It's been too long. It's been a decade. So, anyway, so we have that. We've got a cap here. No signs of leakage yet. Little tiny bit of battery damage down here, but really it's not that bad. So, the other thing I can do is plug headphones into the sound port and see if I get stereo audio. I could do that, but these buttons don't work either. So I think we've got two issues going on. The stability problem is the primary issue, and this is secondary. Alright, headphones are plugged in. Let's see what happens now. Ooh, we got a chime. Not a good chime. And that might be because that's not plugged in. I don't know. But that's weird. So, okay. So the audio circuitry is working. So our problem with the sound is through this cable or speaker. The speaker itself is bad or something. I do want to get this board out, and I want to check everything on here to make sure we don't have any kind of weirdness going on there. So, yeah, fun things. Yeah, the base unit seems to be okay. It doesn't really have any brittle plastic or anything that I can tell. Now we get to this one. This is where all the brittle plastic is. So, of course, as usual, the hinges are all busted and screwed. So they're, you know, little pieces of plastic have fallen out. The spring is just kind of laying in here. I don't know where it goes. I'm sure it's part of this. Yeah, it is. It's nice and broken. Which means I bet the reason why this circuit doesn't work is I bet you this spring shorted something out. So, yeah, this is busted off, which apparently is fairly common, because it's a very crappy, stupid design. Not a super big deal, but it is a, yeah. Anyway, so that's a problem. This is a problem that we've got to take care of. The other thing I want to do is I want to check this cable and make sure that it's not completely screwed, which I don't think so. This is the Toshiba cable. Because if this cable is nicked, that could be why it's not working as well. Which it doesn't look like it is. So I think we're okay there. So now it's just a matter of gluing and epoxying and all of that down, which it's just going to break at a different point. You know, it's, yeah. There's the other piece. I think that held the spring over there. Yeah, it's bad. It's very sticky. It's like, ugh. It's like something got on it. I don't know. It's very, yeah, it's very, doesn't have a smell. I don't know, but I gotta clean that up because that's not supposed to be that way. Alright, yeah, so our problem is up here somewhere with the reason why the speaker and stuff's not working. At least I think so. This part here is an absolute mess. You know, all this is busted off here, just barely held in there. You know, I mean, the hinges were busted out. This actually might be beyond saving. There's no 3D printed replacement parts available for something like this, so it's not like I can get a yeah, and this design, it's like it's screwed to the rear like the earlier Powerbooks, but it's also screwed to the front. So, oh man, I don't know. This one might be beyond saving, unfortunately. So because I'm a masochist and I love to waste time, here's what I'm doing. I took as much as the plastic pieces as I possibly could to try to pack them back in there with a little bit of MEK, and I let it cure, and I went around, especially around these load-bearing standoffs, and tried to, you know, take this guy here and scratch it up and then hit it with some epoxy, because I'm hoping that will help with the rigidity a little bit. I also went through here and did the same thing. I MEK'd that standoff back in, and then I went a little bit with epoxy, and I did the same thing, epoxied it all down. So I'm hoping this holds, but I don't, you know, I'm not holding my breath per se. The other thing I've done is I've decided to soak the hinges in WD-40 to try to loosen those up because they're extremely tight. Tighter than I ever remember this laptop ever being, which is kind of why I think the hinges shattered. In an appropriately themed coffee cup. Right, well, while the upper display assembly is sat off to the side and curing. I'm going to work on the electronics here. So if you remember, we had no sound from this speaker and the buttons didn't work. So, alright, so I got everything just kind of like temporarily placed out of the way. I don't want things shorting out, so I'm going to kind of move you off to the side. So, alright, let's see here. Plug you in. Alright. Wait, what? Did I get that right? Hold on. Wow, it's working. Why wasn't it working in the screen? That's weird. Alright, now I got the screen hooked back up so I can test the function of the buttons out of the machine here. So here we go. Let's turn you back on. No chime. Is it even working? Is it? I can't tell. Oh yeah, it is. So it's not chiming with the screen connected. That's weird. Oh, we got a sad Mac. This thing's unstable with the screen connected too. Interesting. Let me unplug the screen again. Alright, so let's try this again. Yeah, now it works. It's this screen. The screen's loading something down. That's weird. No, yeah, the backlight's on, so the inverter's running. That's weird. So, I wonder why that can be. That is a weird symptom. Alright, I wanted to roll out the stupid things first. It's not the charger. Everything's okay there. Alright, so here's what I've done so far. It's been a few days, so I've left these hinges soak in some WD-40 in a cup for a few days now, and I tried to work them. They're not much more loose than they were before, but they're definitely a little bit more loose than they were. So there's that. Now, I went ahead and epoxied, ground away the plastic and epoxied in, but then it spilled over into the area where the display is, so I had to like trim that back. And then I epoxied those standoffs back in, and I flipped this around so there's not as much tension on it. I did the same thing, epoxied all the standoffs, I epoxied this, and I used a smaller screw so it doesn't split. And then, over here, I glued that back on. I also dropped some epoxy around that to try to reinforce that joint. Hopefully it doesn't snap off. I guess we'll see. It's been 30 years since this thing had tension on it, so I'm not surprised it snapped off. So, and that is it. So I'm going to go ahead and button this back up. I didn't put the shield on because who cares? It's a nightmare to deal with. So I'm just going to leave it. Alright, so here's where we are with this thing. So I plugged the power in. The RAM card is out, and you'll see why in a minute. Still, there's no chime, there's no audible clap from the speaker at all with the screen connected to the cable. If I disconnect the screen, it's fine. So, there's something weird with that. This is just kind of loosely in place so the processor doesn't overheat, and this is... yeah, don't touch it. So the backlight is working for now. This backlight was shutting off for some weird reason with the RAM connected. Like I said, with all of this stuff connected, I was still getting the weird unstable crashes and all of that weirdness going on. But there is one thing I noticed. With the RAM out of the system, it's working fine. There's no bus errors, there's no lockups, there's no weirdness going on with this system. It works perfectly fine. Interesting. I put the RAM back in, and I start having all the weird issues again. And then finally, it threw up a memory test encountered a problem message. Aha! So we definitely have a problem with the RAM issue. So I figured I was going to deoxit the socket. But this is still a problem. If I plug my headphones in, both channels work fine with the screen connected. So there's some weirdness going on here. I don't know what, but... So I figured, okay, well, there's got to be something going on with this RAM card. So I started taking a closer look to all of it. And if you look very close into those pins, they don't look so good. They really don't. So I'm going to hard cut the power for a second, because I'm going to try to do this while holding the camera. This is going to be hard while holding the camera. So, yeah, you can kind of see. You see that very last pin right there? That thing's broken. The connection on all of these solder joints are shot. So, yeah, you can see some breaks down here as well. So that's our problem. The connections to these pins are broken. That is why I'm having all of this trouble. So I bet if I take some flux and I reflow all of those pins, I bet my problems go away. Alright, so a little bit of solder and flux later, plus my hot air tool. I went ahead and got all of that soldered, redone in. I got some fresh solder added on that very end pin. Hopefully that holds up. And then I added a little bit of solder on some pins that were barring a little. And then reflowed everything else with some flux. Hopefully that solves my problem, because it looked pretty broken to me. Alright, so I got the RAM put back in there. And hey, would you look at that. Backlight's on now, which I don't think I got any of that on video from earlier. It didn't freeze trying to draw the logo, and I don't have any random bus errors or anything. And just by looking at the connector, it kind of looks like it was never soldered right to begin with. It just never was. Tails on the solder joints, some solder missing on that very end pin. It wasn't done very good. That's who made it. But yeah, there we go. Everything's good now. I think we finally got this thing figured out. It was the damn RAM connector. But we still have a problem with the sound not working on that speaker. Not quite sure what that is. Alright, so fast forward a little bit of time, and I bought a parts machine. Now this one is a 5300 CS. Now that machine's got its own set of issues, as we can see here. Yeah. Anyway, so I bought it for parts because it is the AA model that's been manufactured by Apple, remanufactured by Apple. There's my original board. So we saw we had the problem with the RAM because of the RAM connector. So that problem is fixed. Now I moved the 5300 display assembly over to this machine because I want to see what happens here. I don't hear a chime. No, I don't think it works either. Oh yeah, I gotta plug the power into it. That would help. Well then. No, I might have to hit this button in the back. Oh, you know what? I'm being stupid. Here's why I'm being stupid. Because this machine is not going to run without one very critical component. The power supply module. I'm getting ahead of myself here, because I just want to get this thing done. I've been fighting with this thing for weeks now. Anyways, there we go. Try this again. Still nothing. Oh, there we go. Yeah, see? Still no chime. So we still have that problem with the audio. Now I bet you if I put this CS display on, I have sound, which this board did have sound. So something is wrong with this cable assembly in this LCD with why it doesn't have sound. And quite honestly, I'm not entirely certain at this point. I might just leave it. Alright, same motherboard, same everything. I just moved the CS display over, and let's see what that one does. Imagine that. So, talk about a really weird fault. It's a really, really strange fault. That screen works at least, and I think this one actually will let me adjust the brightness, and it does. And unfortunately, this one's not very good because, well, it's a passive display, but... So I'm at a crossroads here. Do I just keep the passive display and make that the system that works, or do I just deal with the active matrix display with no sound? I don't know. But it's like being caught between a rock and a hard place. So it looks like that original active matrix LCD decided to snap itself apart again. Anyways, I'm just going to leave that alone for now. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to make one good one out of two at this point. Use the newer parts because there's a lot less wear on the trackpad and all that stuff. The only difference is I'm going to have to use the original bottom plastic, I think, because this one's all heavily corroded. And these shields are like heat staked in, so it's not like I can just pull this off and put it on the or put the other one on. So the other one's not corroded like this. So original bottom cover, and all the other parts I'm just gonna move over. So that's what we're gonna do. Yeah, that one here is basically junk. Now mine's in much better shape, so I'm gonna use that one instead, and then this will just become a, I don't know, junk. But the first thing I want to do is I want to reinforce this DC jack with some extra solder over here, because these things are notorious for breaking. So if I blob some solder and get it all nice and good in there, it'll stiffen it up quite a bit, because these things are thin and they break. Pretty much something like that. It's all blobbed in there. Is that perfect? No, far from it. But that will help give more rigidity to that connector, at least in theory anyway. So this guy, I want to use him, but also I got a 500 and then a 750. I'm going to use the 750. These were both original to the system, but I'd rather use this one versus this one because this one has a lot less hours on it. So that's what we're going to do. And this cover here, there's still a little bit of corrosion, but it's nowhere near like the other one is. This one's at least good enough to use, so yeah, far, far better condition. And actually, same year, so I don't know. Before we can totally put this thing together, well, you know what time it is. We've got some caps to replace. Can't let those go. And there we go. All those caps have been replaced. They're a little smaller than the originals, but they'll work. I've used them in the Duo. It's funny, though, because we've got, you know, tantalums everywhere else except this one lowly one over here. But anyways, that's taken care of. I didn't see any of them leaking, showing no signs of it, and they didn't emit that smell. But I'd rather take care of the problem before it becomes a problem, because we know what these things do once they start leaking. Alright, so before I put the heatsink assembly on, I actually wanted to get some thermal pads down so I can get better heat transfer between the heatsink and that PowerPC chip, because that PowerPC chip gets really, really hot. So that's how we're going to do that. So I think, yeah, that's better. It's nice and gripped on there now. So yeah, there we go. Alright, new caps are in, everything's screwed together. I got the film in place, so I think we are finally at a point where we can test this thing now to see if it works. Let's hope that it does. Yay. Make sure the screen comes on. It does. Hard drive fired up. And there it is. She's booting. Nice. Yeah, unfortunately it's the passive matrix display, but it's really not that bad. And honestly, it's better than not having anything at all, because otherwise I can put an active matrix display in here that I got, but it's really yellowed and the sound doesn't work, plus the standoff broke again. So while this one's still holding up relatively well, and it's not, the backlight's not yellowed, and everything actually looks really good in this machine, so I think I'm just gonna leave it like this. Also, another thing I want to note with this particular machine is I believe this hard drive has an untouched factory load on it. I'm pretty sure it does. Turn the brightness up. So brightness works. Because that wouldn't function on the other one either. I couldn't get the brightness to adjust. Actually, there's a little bit of a crack here. Yeah, there's no... Anyways, so I think this unit has an untouched factory install, but anyways, I'm going to go ahead and get this put back together all the way. So, we know this guy works. I'm in the process of putting it together, so I decided to take a look at this thing. This is gnarly. I could probably clean that up, but it gets better. Look how bad this power supply module has gotten. All those traces are eaten away. I'm surprised it worked at all. It did. It did work. But, yeah, that thing's bad. I gotta clean that up. I'm probably gonna clean this up and just hang on to it just in case. But, remember how I said this went through the Apple service because it had the AA on the serial number? I think I know what they did. That chip was hand soldered. So they replaced this chip at one time, or someone's reworked that chip. So yeah, that's nasty. I'll probably hang on to it for parts just to keep this guy going. So I'm not going to throw any of the boards away, but yeah, that's gross. Alright, got the top cleaned off as best as I can. There's some scuffs here and there, but it's not terrible, all things considered, considering how old this thing is. The hinges are a bit questionable, but it's together. Keyboard's in nice condition, trackpad's a lot less worn out, so here we go. Let's go ahead and kick the power on to this guy. Let this guy start up. I gotta clean that screen too because it's a little bit dirty, but that's fine. So, built-in memory test has detected a problem. Rep. So there might be something wrong with that memory module. I did resolder the edge connector earlier in the video, so but it could just be bad. I think I have another one of those modules kicking around here somewhere. Somewhere. I'll have to look in my stash and see. But yeah, I'm pretty certain that this is the factory OS. Because every time it starts up, it's running this floppy disk maker software where I can actually make some diskettes. And if I go in here and get info, looks like this volume was created February 26th of 1998. So this is definitely the factory thing, because look at this over here. If I run that, yeah, that's what I mean. God, this looks so 90s. Well, I gotta figure out the memory problem. Yeah, here's another interesting fact. This machine, well, a machine like this one, was used in the movie Independence Day by Jeff Goldblum. I still have that memory error. I tried to deoxit the socket, and it's not acting unstable right now like it was before, but I do think there's a chip bad on that module, because I'm only seeing 40 megabytes, and I know there's 8 megabytes on board. So I'm only seeing 32 out of the 48 megabyte module, so I'm missing 16 megabytes of RAM. So there's 16 megabytes of RAM on that module that's unusable because one of those chips is bad. Now, which one, I don't know, but I'm going to have to rebuild that module if I want that thing to work properly. So I think what I'm going to do is just look in my stash for another one. I don't think I have one that big, but at least I'm hoping it doesn't throw the memory error anymore. Well, unfortunately, it looks like I do not have any more of these RAM modules. This is all I have. So I'm going to take a picture of what I need as far as the RAM chips is concerned, just so I know. And I'm just going to put it back together because I've already got more money in this thing than I want to. So you got to know when to call it. So this is where I'm going to call it. It's working. So I'll just leave it at that. Alright, so with that an unfortunate dead end, the next thing I want to do is test the floppy drive and see if it actually works. Sounds like it. Yeah, there it is. I don't know if it'll start this version up on this machine, but it might. SCSI Pro. Let's see. Yeah. Well, at least something has the right date on here. It probably won't boot it because it's a Power PC, but we'll see. Yeah, it's reading the diskette. Yeah, that's what I thought. That's fine. I think this machine only supports a minimum of what's already installed, but alright, I think I've gone about as far as I can with this machine. So it's all working, mostly restored with, bad RAM. There's not much I can do about that. I got to fix that later. But for now, I think I'm going to wrap this video up. So this machine is working. It seems to be stable now. It's not crashing all the time. Even if I got the RAM error, it disabled that section of memory. So now it knows that, okay, I can't use this block of memory, so it's disabled it. And now, because it's disabled, I'm not having any more weird crashing issues. But I think I'm going to end this video right here, folks. If you have a comment, please feel free to leave one. Don't forget to hit the like and subscribe and all of that fun stuff. Until next time, guys, thank you for watching.